Welcome the anointed ones. Be careful who you're kind to. They might be wearing a billion-dollar disguise. That's not just a warning. It's a prophecy. Because chosen one, you have no idea who you just saved. Let that sink in for a second. While you were out here moving in love, showing grace, offering help with no strings attached, someone else cloaked in humility and power was quietly watching. And get this, 70% of billionaires intentionally move in silence to observe how people treat them without knowing who they are. No private jets, no Rolex signals, just a hoodie, a quiet voice, and a soul that was secretly begging to believe in humanity again. And you, chosen one, without even trying, just gave them that reason. You weren't networking, you weren't flexing, you weren't trying to impress. You were just being your usual golden, unbothered, deeply soulful self, probably wondering if your kindness is even worth it anymore. And let's be honest, the way people act these days, you might have even questioned if kindness needs a LinkedIn profile to be respected. But oh, the joke's on them, because while they were chasing clout, you were earning divine interest in a vault they didn't even know existed. And here's the twist. The billionaire you unknowingly helped, they've been searching for someone like you, someone real, unfiltered, incorruptible. And now that they've found you, baby, everything is about to shift. Stay locked in, because by the end of this message, you're going to realize that one act of kindness you almost forgot about just positioned you for a life you never saw coming. Let's dive in. Number 1. Your kindness wasn't random. It was a celestial test witnessed by power. What you thought was just a simple, unplanned act of kindness, maybe holding a door open, helping someone with directions, sharing a meal, or speaking life into someone on a dark day, was actually a divine setup, not just for them, but for you. It wasn't a random moment, it wasn't small, and it sure wasn't overlooked. That exact moment was being watched, not just by the person you helped, but by who they truly were behind the scenes. Someone with major power, someone with the ability to change your life without needing applause for doing it. You had no clue that the person in front of you carried billionaire energy under regular clothes and a low profile. You didn't detect wealth because you weren't looking for it. That's the key. You weren't performing. You weren't trying to impress. You weren't scanning for opportunity. You were just being real. And that right there is rare. That billionaire didn't need another person begging them, complimenting them, or trying to network. They've seen that script 1,000 times. But you showed them something they hadn't seen in years. Someone kind with no agenda. That moment marked you. The universe saw that, and so did they. While others are chasing success through strategies and tactics, you just passed a spiritual test that positioned you for a level of reward you couldn't have plotted or planned. The very thing others mocked you for, being too kind, too helpful, too generous, is the same thing that unlocked a secret door, and you didn't even know it was happening. The person you helped might have looked like they needed you, but what they really needed was to be reminded that integrity still exists, that purity isn't extinct, and that some people help just because it's the right thing to do. And now, they're ready to make sure you never have to question your worth again. Number 2. You didn't save a billionaire. You saved someone who had given up on humanity. You didn't just help someone who had money. You helped someone who had nothing left inside. On the outside, they had everything people chase: status, wealth, access. But on the inside, they were drained, empty, borderline done with humanity. What they weren't telling anyone was that they were slowly pulling back from people, from trust, from the idea that real love or sincerity still existed. And then you came along, not flashy, not trying to gain anything, just raw, genuine, and kind when no one expected you to be. That moment hit them harder than you could ever imagine. They didn't need another person faking a smile. They didn't need another yes man or someone worshipping their money. What they needed was one real soul to remind them that not everyone is hollow. Your kindness didn't just help them, it interrupted a downward spiral. You became that one unexplainable moment they couldn't shake. The way you spoke, the way you treated them like a human instead of a walking bank account, it made something click. They were standing on the edge, not literally maybe, but spiritually and mentally. They were ready to cut people off for good, ready to give up on being generous, ready to disappear. And then you gave them a reason not to. What you did wasn't just nice, it was life-giving. You unknowingly reached into a tired soul and reminded it what it felt like to be seen without being judged, needed without being used. And now that they've processed it, they've realized you didn't just offer help, you offered hope. A silent, unexpected rescue mission with no cape, no spotlight, and no conditions. That kind of impact doesn't fade. It lingers. It haunts, in the best way. And now, they're not just grateful. They're moved. And when people with power feel something real, they act. You didn't just save their day, you saved their belief in goodness. And that kind of gesture doesn't just get remembered, it gets rewarded. Number 3, you shifted a timeline with a gesture. That was never small. That one act of kindness you gave so naturally, without overthinking it, without expecting anything back, did more than help someone. It caused a shift, a real shift. You didn't just brighten someone's moment, you triggered a whole new timeline. The universe works off energy, not effort. And when your energy is clean, sincere, and aligned with something higher, even the smallest gesture can ripple out in ways you'll never see coming. At least not immediately. You weren't just being nice. You were operating from a frequency that few people can reach. One where love doesn't have to be earned. Where help doesn't come with conditions. Where you give because it's who you are, not because you're trying to get something. And that kind of energy is powerful. That's the kind of energy that changes outcomes. It doesn't look loud or impressive on the surface, but it bends reality underneath it. What you did may have seemed forgettable in the moment. You might have even walked away and never thought about it again. But on a soul level, that moment marked both you and them. Without even knowing it, you disrupted what could have been a very dark path for the other person. And now you're about to see the echo of that kindness returned to you, but amplified. People always talk about karma like it's only about revenge or justice, but they forget it also works in favor of those who live right. When you operate with a pure heart, you're not just doing good, you're setting off a spiritual chain reaction. And that chain has finally caught up to you. That billionaire, they didn't just receive kindness, they received a sign, a literal interruption in the cold pattern they were stuck in. Something shifted in them, and it's about to shift in your life too. Your reward isn't coming because you tried to create an outcome, it's coming because you caused a transformation without even knowing it. And now the universe has no choice but to respond. Number 4. You proved to the elite that purity still exists outside a price tag. The elite are used to everything having a cost. Compliments, loyalty, favors, even love. It's all part of a silent transaction in their world. Most people around them wear masks, calculating every move, every word, every relationship, hoping to get something in return. So, when someone like you showed up, offering pure kindness without expectation, it broke their system. It disrupted their programming. You did what money couldn't buy. You gave something real for free. And in their world, that's unheard of. You didn't flatter them. You didn't ask for a photo or a favor. You didn't play the social ladder game. You just treated them like a human being, not a wallet with legs. That doesn't happen to them. They're so used to being seen as walking opportunity that your authenticity hit like a shockwave. And not just a nice one, a disruptive one, because it forced them to face something they didn't want to admit. Purity still exists, but it's rare as hell. What you didn't realize is that your energy carried something ancient, something clean. You didn't have to announce your worth, they felt it. You weren't trying to be impressive, but your spirit had weight. And for people who've seen it all, bought it all, and done it all, that was more powerful than any luxury brand or business pitch. You reminded them that there are still people who act with integrity even when no one is watching, people who don't perform, people who don't scheme, people who show up as they are. Now they can't stop thinking about it. Not because you tried to leave an impression, but because you didn't. And that's exactly why you did. The elite are quietly watching you now, not out of pity or curiosity, but out of genuine interest, because while they can buy everything else, they can't buy what you carry. And that makes you the most valuable person in the room. Number 5. Your energy was felt before you even spoke. Before you even opened your mouth, something about you disrupted the air around them. Your presence carried a kind of quiet power. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands it without trying. It wasn't just the way you walked, or how you carried yourself, or even what you wore. It was deeper. It was your frequency, the way your energy moved into the room before your body did. And in a world where most people are chasing validation, your authenticity cut through like a clean blade. They felt it, even if they couldn't name it. That billionaire, used to reading people, trained to spot manipulation from a mile away, paused when you entered their field. Not because of your appearance, but because your vibration didn't carry hunger or desperation or entitlement. It carried something they hadn't felt in years: wholeness. You weren't selling anything. You weren't looking for an angle. You were just present. And in that presence, they felt safety. They felt truth. Your energy whispered things no words could say. It told them you've seen darkness but didn't let it make you bitter. It told them you've been hurt but still show up in love. It told them you're not here to impress. You're here to exist in alignment. That level of spiritual clarity is rare. And for someone who moves through a world full of masks and performances, meeting someone like you was more than refreshing. It was haunting. They couldn't shake it. Days later, your name might have slipped their mind, but that vibration stayed. That internal nudge, that emotional imprint, that eerie sense that they'd just crossed paths with someone who isn't of this system. Someone unshaken by fame, status, or wealth. Someone who doesn't need to speak loudly because their spirit already did the talking. You weren't just felt, you were etched. Number 6. You made a high-level soul rethink their life contract. What you did went way beyond kindness. You unknowingly stepped into someone's life at the exact moment they were about to walk away from everything. Not just the business, the titles, or the spotlight, but from the purpose they once swore to fulfill. That billionaire, that high-level soul, had already decided internally, I'm done. Done giving, done believing, done caring. On paper they looked powerful, but spiritually they were crashing, quietly, completely. Your presence interrupted that fall, and it wasn't about a speech or a grand gesture. It was the small human moment you created, one that didn't ask for recognition. You didn't offer them a solution. You offered them realness. No mask, no performance, no hidden motive. Just soul-level sincerity. And when they felt it, something cracked open. Not emotionally, spiritually. People like them don't make spontaneous decisions lightly, but after meeting you, they didn't just feel seen. They felt called out of the fog they were in. They had crafted an exit plan, wrapped in quiet despair and disguised as moving on. But your presence made them question it all. Why am I here? What if there's more? What if this isn't the end, just a redirection? You didn't hand them a new map, but you sparked a new will. And that changed everything. That moment with you made them realize that the world still has light, that the mission they thought was over may still be unfolding. They didn't need another assistant or advisor. They needed a jolt to the soul, and you delivered it, by just being you. And now they're rethinking everything. They're pulling out the contract they were ready to shred and reading it again, this time with renewed eyes. All because your spirit reminded them of a deeper truth. There's still work to do. There's still something sacred left, and they're not done yet. You reignited the mission without even trying. Number 7. You were the only person who didn't treat them like a wallet. In a world where people calculate their kindness based on what they can gain, your spirit did the opposite. It disarmed someone who had been reduced to a dollar sign most of their life. That billionaire, no matter how powerful or respected they seem, had gotten used to being seen as a walking transaction. Every handshake came with an angle, every smile masked an agenda. Even love, friendships, and charity came wrapped in fine print. People didn't approach them with humanity. They approached with strategy. But you didn't flinch. You didn't pause to evaluate their worth. You didn't scan for gain. Your soul doesn't work like that. You didn't treat them like a wallet because your spirit isn't built to chase money. It attracts authentic value. It doesn't beg. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't perform. You carry such a clean frequency that it shook them out of their usual patterns. You showed them something rare, connection with no invoice attached. They were probably waiting for the other shoe to drop. waiting for the favor, the ask, the expectation. But it never came. And the silence from you spoke louder than any networking pitch they'd ever heard. Because for the first time in a long time, someone looked at them and saw a person, not a portfolio. That one moment with you restored a part of them they didn't realize had gone numb, their dignity, their humanity. You reminded them that they were still more than what they owned, and you did it without trying. That's what made it unforgettable. You weren't trying to impress, and that's exactly why you left an impression. When most people are chasing validation, your energy gave permission to just be. And for someone who has everything except peace of mind, that was sacred. That was rare. That was healing. You became unforgettable. Not because of what you said or what you wore or what you did, but because you made them feel human again. You made them feel real. And now they know. You're not like the rest. You're something they can't buy, replace, or forget. Number 8. The system mocked you for being kind. But the gatekeeper was watching. They called you soft, said you were too nice, too forgiving, too generous. People acted like your kindness was a flaw, something to be corrected, toughened up, or hidden. You were passed over, ghosted, and treated like you didn't belong in rooms where arrogance and manipulation were the norm. You watched others win by playing dirty, while you stayed rooted in truth. And for a while, it felt like the world had made its decision. Reward the ruthless, punish the pure. But what they didn't know was that someone powerful was watching. Not clapping, not liking your posts, not making noise, just quietly observing. Not just what you did in public, but how you moved when no one was watching. When you had the chance to become bitter, but chose compassion. When you were overlooked, but still gave your best. When you had every reason to change, but stayed loyal to your core. That gatekeeper, the one with real access, real authority, and real influence, wasn't looking for another loud voice or strategic charmer. They were looking for purity under pressure. And you delivered, over and over again, without even knowing you were being tested. The irony is, the same trait people mocked you for, your unwavering kindness, was the code that unlocked their respect. It was the thing that made you unforgettable, not because it was easy, but because it was rare. Everyone else was trying to impress with power, ego, and fake confidence. But you walked in as yourself, unpolished, honest, and real, and that's what caught their eye. Now the door that others tried to force open with status or manipulation is about to swing open for you. Not because you chased it, but because you embodied what the system couldn't corrupt. While they were busy mocking your softness, the real gatekeeper was preparing your invitation. You didn't fold. You didn't fake it. You stayed kind in a cold world. And that's exactly why you're about to be elevated in front of the very people who counted you out. Number 9. They were testing you the entire time, and you weren't supposed to know. That moment you thought was just a regular encounter. It wasn't. That person who appeared to need a little help, a little grace, a little patience, they weren't just anybody. That was a gate disguised as a stranger, a test wrapped in plain clothes. You weren't supposed to know. That was the whole point. See, people with real power, real wealth, and real influence don't announce themselves when they want to see someone's true character. They show up unassuming to see how you act when the cameras are off, when there's no prize in sight, when you think what you're doing doesn't count. And you passed. Not because you knew you were being watched, but because you're always that person. You didn't know who was watching, but they saw everything. You didn't shift your tone based on status. You didn't look past people because they weren't dressed like success. You offered the same presence, the same dignity, the same warmth to someone you thought had nothing to offer you. And that was the test, because that's the part most people fail. They only show respect when there's something to gain. But you made no distinction. And that revealed more about you than any resume or speech ever could. What they were really measuring was whether your soul could be trusted with more access, more visibility, more resources. They weren't interested in who you become when you're trying to impress. They were watching who you are when no one's clapping, and what they saw was rare. someone whose integrity doesn't adjust based on the setting, someone who doesn't perform kindness, someone who embodies it. Now that the test is over, so is the silence. They've made their decision. And what's coming next isn't just a reward, it's a recognition. You're not being elevated because you chased it. You're being elevated because when life whispered, "This one's real," you lived in a way that proved it. You passed the test you never knew you were taking. And now the doors you never dared to knock on are about to open wide. Number 10. They tried to forget you, but the universe kept bringing you back. They wanted to erase you from their story, to push the memory aside like an inconvenient thought, a background noise easily ignored. But that's not how the universe works when something real shows up. Your presence wasn't just a moment, it was a signal, one that resonates far beyond what they can explain or control. No matter how hard they tried to bury it under their busy lives or distractions, your energy kept surfacing, like a quiet echo in the chambers of their mind. It wasn't because you shouted or demanded attention. You didn't send reminders or make grand gestures. You simply were, aligned, authentic, unshakable. In a world built on masks and facades, you became a rare frequency they couldn't tune out. Your essence haunted the spaces where their heart and mind met, refusing to be silenced. That lingering presence is what made them come back. Not because they owed you anything, but because deep down, they knew what you represented was the truth they'd been running from. They sought comfort in power and possessions, but your authenticity was a mirror, showing what real value looks like when stripped of all the noise. It made them question their choices, their loneliness, their purpose. The universe isn't in the business of coincidence. When you touch someone's soul at that level, it sets off a chain reaction, one that keeps pulling until the story is addressed. So here they are, drawn back not by obligation or guilt, but by a force they can't ignore. They're coming back because your energy is a beacon in their chaos, a reminder that what they lost was never about money or status. It was about something far deeper. You didn't have to chase them down. The universe did it for you. And now, the door is opening wide, because what you carry can't be forgotten, erased, or replaced. It demands to be recognized. Number 11. You're about to receive compensation that will offend those who played you. Your breakthrough isn't just coming quietly. It's about to hit like a thunderclap in the silence. The people who dismissed you, who thought your kindness was weakness, who treated you like a stepping stone or a doormat, won't see it coming. To them, your success will seem like an overnight miracle, a sudden favor from fate. But you and the universe know better. Every overlooked moment, every time they underestimated your worth, was logged, like a ledger kept in the heavens. You didn't just show up with good intentions. You acted in a way that altered the course of someone's life, someone who holds power and resources most can only dream of. That billionaire you helped isn't just going to forget it or brush it off. They're not the type to let such a rare act slip through the cracks. Instead, they've already started investing in you. Not out of charity, but because they recognize your value at a level others can't touch. The compensation you're about to receive isn't just financial. It's a statement. It's a crown placed squarely on your head in front of those who played you, used you, or ignored you. It's a public declaration that your kindness wasn't weakness but power, that your integrity wasn't a liability but the foundation for legacy. They'll watch as the very person they tried to keep beneath them rises with blessings they never imagined. And what's more infuriating to them, the source of your elevation isn't someone they know, control, or can influence. It's a force beyond their reach, a divine reckoning for the way they treated you. So let them be offended, let them be shocked, because your time is here. The payback isn't about revenge, it's about rightful recognition. You saved a billionaire, but more importantly, you saved yourself, and that legacy, it's just beginning. Number 12, you're not just getting paid, you're getting positioned. This moment you're stepping into isn't about a paycheck or a sudden windfall. It's much bigger than that. What's coming is about where you're being placed in the grand design of things. It's about position, a sacred space carved out just for you, earned not by hustle or manipulation, but by the quiet strength of your kindness. The kind of kindness that didn't break under pressure, didn't dim in the face of cruelty, and didn't bargain for favor. Money can be given to anyone, but influence, that's reserved for those who have been tested in fire and didn't burn others to survive. This isn't charity or luck. It's divine alignment. They're not just handing you resources. They're inviting you into a realm where your spirit and your power intersect. A place where decisions are made quietly, behind closed doors, by those who have proven they can handle the responsibility that comes with real authority. Your kindness was the ultimate qualifier. It showed you're not just safe to have wealth, you're safe to wield it with integrity. In a world where power often corrupts, you demonstrated you could carry it without losing yourself or trampling others. That's rare, that's valuable, and that's exactly why you're being positioned. This isn't about chasing status or proving something to the world. It's about stepping into a role where your influence can ripple far beyond what money alone can buy. You're being placed where your impact matters, where your voice can shape legacies, where your energy opens doors that have been locked tight for most. So, when the compensation comes, remember, it's not just a reward, it's a signal that you've arrived at a higher level, one reserved for those who refuse to sacrifice kindness on the altar of success. You're not just getting paid, you're being positioned for greatness that money alone can't measure. Number 13. The reward will be so specific it will prove this was supernatural. The reward coming your way won't look like something random or generic. It won't be a one-size-fits-all kind of deal that anyone could stumble into. Instead, it will be so specific, so uniquely crafted just for you, that it'll shake you to your core. It will feel like the universe took everything about you, the dreams you dared to whisper only in your heart, the struggles you quietly endured, the gifts you didn't even realize you had, and wrapped them all into one undeniable blessing. You'll notice how the opportunity aligns perfectly with a part of you that's been waiting, maybe even for years, but never had the right key to unlock it. This reward will touch a hidden corner of your soul, addressing a longing you never dared to put into words, because who really talks about their deepest desires out loud? But this reward will speak to that part of you clearly, like it's been waiting in the wings for someone to recognize it. That's when the truth hits. This wasn't coincidence. This was planned, orchestrated, and delivered in perfect timing by something greater than chance. The precision of it all, how it fits your life so seamlessly, will be proof enough that forces beyond the ordinary have been at work. When people talk about blessings, they often expect big checks or flashy wins. But your reward will feel like a puzzle piece sliding into place, a confirmation that your path was never random or wasted. It'll show you that the universe was watching, holding space for you to be recognized exactly as you are. This kind of supernatural alignment isn't about luck or hustle. It's about being seen by the unseen, valued by the invisible hands guiding your journey. And once you experience this kind of reward, this tailor-made blessing, you'll never doubt again that your kindness and integrity created a ripple effect that reached far beyond what you could see. This moment will be undeniable proof that you were chosen, that your kindness wasn't just noticed, it was honored in a way that only the divine could arrange. Number 14. You were always the wealthy one, but now the world is about to see it. You've always carried a wealth that no bank account could reflect. The love you gave without expectation, the integrity you held when no one was watching, the compassion that flowed from you even when it wasn't returned. These were your true riches. Dignity wasn't something you earned, it was something you embodied, quietly and consistently. You weren't broke or empty. You were wealthy in the most profound ways, but the world lacked the language or the lens to see it. The problem isn't that you didn't have value, it's that the standard measures, the numbers, the titles, the flashy possessions, have no way to capture what you truly hold inside. Society has long tried to reduce worth to what can be counted or displayed, and in that framework, you looked invisible. But your wealth was never meant to be invisible. It was just waiting for the right eyes, the right heart, to recognize it. Now, that moment is here. Someone who understands the real meaning of value, who can see past the surface and appreciate the deep currents beneath, is about to put you where your true wealth can no longer be ignored. They know that what you gave away freely is rare currency, and they're ready to invest in it, amplify it, and showcase it in a way the world can finally grasp. The world's metrics, money, status, power, are about to have to catch up with your reality. They'll be forced to rewrite the rules because the kind of wealth you embody can't be measured by old standards. This isn't about suddenly becoming rich in the traditional sense. It's about your inner richness, finally reflecting outwardly in undeniable ways. So prepare yourself. You were always wealthy in a way that mattered most. And now the world is about to see it too. Not as a whisper or a secret, but as a bold, undeniable truth. As this chapter of your journey unfolds, understand this. Your kindness was never a weakness or a mistake. It was a hidden force, a quiet power that set in motion a series of events far greater than you ever imagined. You didn't just help a billionaire, you ignited a chain reaction that transcends wealth, status, or fleeting recognition. What you sowed in sincerity, integrity, and compassion is now blossoming into a legacy that will outlast any material fortune. This is the moment where the universe validates your unseen struggles and silent victories. Where every time you chose to be kind in a world that demanded toughness, you were actually forging an unbreakable armor. The reward coming your way is not just about compensation or position, it's about rightful acknowledgement, an elevation of your spirit and your purpose. It's about the world finally catching up to the truth that you were always wealthy, always valuable, and always worthy of greatness. No longer will your kindness be misunderstood or underestimated. Instead, it will be recognized as the rarest currency, one that can't be bought, sold, or replicated. You've proven that real power doesn't come from forcing your way in, but from moving through life with a heart open enough to change the course of destinies. The billionaire you saved is only the beginning. What's coming next is a testament to the kind of person you are, someone whose light can't be dimmed, whose energy can't be ignored, and whose influence is destined to reshape worlds. So hold on to this truth with confidence. You're not just about to receive blessings. You're stepping into a new era where your kindness pays off in ways the world hasn't seen before. You're being positioned for impact, influence, and undeniable legacy. And as this unfolds, those who doubted you will be forced to witness a transformation they never thought possible. This is your moment. Own it. Because the kindness you carried quietly has become the force that changes everything. The world is finally ready to see you, truly see you, and the impact you were born to make. If this message resonated with you and you're ready to embrace the power of your kindness and the extraordinary path ahead, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep, eye-opening insights. Hit that like button to show your support and drop a comment below. Share your story or how this spoke to your soul. And if you know someone who needs to hear this truth, go ahead and share this video with them. Together, we're building a community of those who refuse to settle for anything less than their true worth. Stay tuned because the best is yet to come. God bless you.